Hello, Tomasio here from the, what do you want to call it? Mary's Place, the Museum of Life, and got some cats crawling around. But I'd like to talk about Saint Joseph, and in particular, whether or not he was a virgin. This is coming up, and it has been brought to my attention because Scott Hahn believes that Joseph was a virgin, that Joseph was a perpetual virgin. Okay, that Joseph never, that Joseph was a virgin like Mary and remained a virgin and was always a virgin. Perpetual virgin Joseph, right? So now, Scott Hahn is a biblical scholar. He's a Bible scholar. Excuse me. Can you move, please? Can you please move? Yeah. Scott Hahn is a biblical scholar. And if you check out YouTube, Hail Holy Queen is talking with Mary. He says clearly, he calls Joseph a virgin. Now, okay, so where in the Bible does it say that Joseph was a virgin? Nowhere. Okay. It says Joseph was a just man. It says Joseph was a carpenter. That Joseph was definitely on the outside looking in when it came to, Mary telling him that she was pregnant. He was an outside looking in. I mean, he was not an insider here. He was going to put her away quietly. He was a just man, but he was not in any way privy to what was going on. Okay. Mary was privy. Joseph was not privy. Mary was a virgin. Joseph was a widow. How do we know that? You got to get my book. It's called Mary is the New Evangelization. Okay. You can get it on Amazon.com. And in it, I quote from the Gospel of James. The Gospel of James, or they call it the Proto-Evangelium of James, is a historical book, and it was not included in Scripture. It dates back to the 2nd century, and it gives details not contained in the Gospels about Joseph and Mary, especially about Mary. It talks about Mary being brought to the temple when she was 3, that her mother, Anne, was barren, and they prayed for her child. Like Mary was a miracle all the way around, right from the very beginning, right from her conception, she was a miracle. The Gospel of James, Proto-Evangelium of James, goes into it, and it says clearly Joseph was a widow who had kids, who actually accompanied them to Bethlehem. So there is a historical document that contains incredible information about the Blessed Virgin Mary, about her mother, about her father, about Saint Joseph. And it says clearly that he had children. So, if you're going to call yourself a biblical scholar, now you might be able to say, well, that's not in the Bible. The Gospel of James isn't in the Bible. So we don't have to, doesn't count, right? Well, would a Bible scholar really say that? Is that what a Bible scholar would say? Is that the Gospel of Proto-Evangelium of James doesn't count? I don't think so. No, I think they would really respect the Proto-Evangelium of James, knowing that the church takes much of what they know about Mary being raised in the temple from this book. So, here again, we're I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say other than uh, what is important. What is most important, and is it, whether or not you're Catholic or Protestant, is that the most important thing that you have to find out while you're on this earth? Should I be a Catholic or should I be a Protestant? Um, you know, I would say, I'm not saying it's not important. All I'm saying is if that's the most important thing, then you're not going to get it right. You're really not going to get it right. Okay? Meaning this. You're going to see everything slanted your way. If it's about Catholic versus Protestant, everything that's going to, now you might say, okay, why is it the Catholic way to say Joseph was a virgin, perpetual virgin Joseph? Why would that benefit the Catholic theology? Because you wouldn't say it if it's not in the Bible unless you thought it personally did something for the Catholic Church. Okay, so now what I'm saying is doing more for the Catholic Church. What you're saying is doing more for the Protestant Church, because the Protestants can clearly say that Catholics are not biblical. When you say something like St. Joseph was a perpetual virgin and you have no historical fact for that, and why would that even be something that you would say? Why is that considered virtuous, that Joseph was a virgin, and for some reason that's supposed to make people feel good because he was a virgin? Okay, so certainly if he was not married and he was not a virgin, no. But if he was married and his wife died and he had children and he was chosen to be Mary's guardian and protector because of what was about to befall her, and the only legal protection that she could get was marriage, you know. So, and he was asked. Joseph was clearly asked by God. It was a situation where he was very reluctant to get involved because he was older than her. But the high priest told him, yes, it's God's will. So he reluctantly, as a faithful Jew, listened to the high priest. Now, when the pregnancy was announced to Joseph, he wanted out. There's no question about it. He wanted out. So the angel had to appear to him and tell him not to be afraid to take Mary as his wife. So this was really his conversion. Up until this point, his heart's not, he was willing participant, but his heart wasn't in it. Now his heart's in it. Like, oh my gosh. Okay. So there's no way he's this fairy tale that's portrayed that him and Mary they had both vowed virginity. They didn't know it. They didn't know each other, and they fall in love with each other, and then they tell each other that they had both vowed virginity. And oh my gosh, they were so virtuous because even though they were married, they didn't even have sexual relations, which goes against church teaching anyway. It clearly goes against church teaching. So that's what I'm saying. It has created confusion. It really has. The reason Joseph and Mary did not have sexual relations is because their marriage was a spiritual marriage. It really wasn't a physical marriage to have children. It was a spiritual marriage. And those spiritual marriages continue. They're called mystical marriages. They were the first, probably the first. Jesus and Mary Magdalene, you could say, had a mystical marriage. Jesus and St. Catherine of Siena, Mary and Maximilian Kolbe. I mean, that's what the type of relationship here. Now maybe Joseph at first thought it was going to be different or something. I don't know. But once the angel assured him that what was going on was part of God's plan, and it's cool, take protect this woman, and then Mary was able to share more with him. Of course, once he got past the initial. So anyway, at the end of the day, I really I want people to think for themselves, really, and because there's a lot of things that have been, in essence, just shoved down our throats to believe as pious Catholics that, quite honestly, are fairy tales, basically fairy tales. And so we'll get into more of that, but I wanted to address St. Joseph. And here again, we're discussing theology, and there's no personal animosity at all between myself and Scott Hahn or any other theologian who might be, sharing that Joseph was a perpetual virgin. No, that we're talking just like the truth. We just want the truth. That's all. Thank you.